Alright, this video is how to simplify before you start solving in an equation. So, we're going to take a look at this problem. The first thing I'm going to do is change that minus to plus a negative. Alright, so what we want to look for is anything we can simplify. Any like terms we can combine. In this case, we have our 7 plus our 2. I can combine that to a 9. It's being multiplied by this 5 over here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So that's 45. So all of that we just combined to 45 was being added to negative x, and it all equaled 33. At this point, that I'm done simplifying. The only things I could combine over here were those, the 45. 45 and x are not like terms. They cannot combine. 45 would need an x to be able to combine. Okay. So at this point, now I'm going into solving. So I'm done simplifying. This was my simplifying. And my blue. And now I'm going to go into solving. I'll change my colors. How about a nice green? So this is just what we were doing before, where we add our opposite to isolate the variable, so that would become 0. Do the same thing on the other side because of the equality property. So I get negative x equals negative 12. And I need to do one more step. So if negative x is negative 12, that means positive x is going to be positive 12. So first I simplified, and then in the green is my solving. Now the reason you want to simplify before you solve is it just makes things a whole lot easier to deal with. Having 45 instead of 5 times the sum of 2 and 7, it's just a lot easier to deal with. So let's look at another example of this. So here's another problem. So first step, again in my blue, I'm going to simplify. This time I have stuff on both sides I can simplify. Over here, the 3 times 5 is 15. Still have the x. I can't combine this, so I'm just going to leave it as 15 plus x. Over on the other side of my equation, I have 9 and 12. Those can combine to 21. So at this point, I'm done simplifying. I combine those two to 21. I combine those two to 15. The x can't combine with anything. So now I'm going from simplifying to solving. So I'm changing my color again. I'm going to add the opposite so that isolates my x. That becomes 0. Add my opposite. So now I only have x on this side over here, and that's going to equal my 6. So I simplified, and then I solved. All right, take a look at this one. So again, first step, simplify. So on my right side, that one's pretty easy. I got 5 times 4, so that's going to be a 20. So the right side is completely simplified. Now, this time, 6x and 2x, I can combine those two. Those are like terms. They both have an x. So if I have 6 x's and I add 2 x's all together, I have 8x. When I'm combining like terms with variables, all I do is add up those coefficients. 6 and 2 is 8x altogether, and I have the 20 on the right side. So at this point, I'm done my simplifying. There's nothing left to do as far as simplifying. Now I'm solving. So in this case, I have my coefficient. I multiply by the reciprocal to have the coefficient now become 1. I do the same thing on the other side. So now my x equals, all I have to do is simplify this. So they're both divisible by 4. So I factor out a 4, and I get 5 over 2. Or 2.5 is also a fine answer. So here's my example of combining my like terms where they're both variables. A 6x plus a 2x equals an 8x. Now remember on the past ones we had, I can't combine 15 and x because 15 doesn't have an x. But on this one, 6x and 2x can combine to 8x. So you notice the difference here of when I can combine, they're both variables, to when I can't, only one of them has a variable. That's the difference between like terms. These two are like terms. These two are not like terms. Okay, 9 and 12, like terms. I could combine them. 15 and x, not like terms. I cannot combine them. All right, so let's look at one more where we're combining some like terms. So I'm going to first simplify. Actually, even before that, I'm going to change these to plus negatives. All right, so on my left side, I have 7x, and negative 10x. So 7 and negative 10 is negative 3x altogether. On my right side, 2 and negative 8 is negative 6 times 4, so that's negative 24 altogether. All right, so now I've simplified everything I can. So I'm going to go ahead and start solving. So my coefficient is negative 3. The reciprocal of that would be 1 over negative 3, which would make my coefficient 1. Do the same thing on the other side. So my x equals, if I simplify this out, the negatives will cancel out, and 3 goes into 24 8 times. So my answer is a positive 8. So on this one, I combine my like terms on the left side. 7x negative 10x is negative 3x. On the right side, I also simplified. 2 and negative 8 is negative 6. Negative 6 times 4 is negative 24. Once I am done simplifying, I switch to my green, and I'm now solving the reciprocal of my coefficient to both sides. And then I just simplify it down because now I've isolated my variable. And that's it.